Well, good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. I want to let you know that I've missed everybody greatly. I miss being at church with everybody. Hope that that's going to happen soon, that we'll be able to be back together. Uh, Brother Steve had asked me to share a little bit about my testimony. I told him I'd be glad to do that. Uh, as a young boy, I grew up in a loving home with two loving parents. We did attend church on a regular basis. I can remember being in services where, I walked the aisle and I said the prayer as a very young boy. And then as time goes on, we live our lives kind of like we want to. And that's where I was at. It was natural for me to live that way because I wasn't saved. Even though I had walked the aisle at the church and said the prayer and all of those things, I still was living a life that showed no fruit at all of salvation. But as time went on, I always felt a drawing from the Lord to know Him more. And of course, as an unbeliever, you don't want to face your judge and what you know that you've done and are doing. But as time kept continuing on and I gotten older and now I'm a teenager and an older teenager, continue to live my life like I wanted to and what felt natural to do. I continued in that life. I ended up joining the Navy, and I left for the Navy in 1985. That's a few years ago. And, of course, still living my life like I wanted to, in rebellion to God, basically. At the time, I didn't believe that, but now I know that. And, of course, as time went on, I had a tragedy in my life. I lost my mother at a young age, and that was a mile marker in my life that was difficult. And even though I was living my life like I wanted to, and then of course my mother was taken away, I didn't realize at the time what really what was going on. God was actually working in the background, even in that tragedy. I look back now, I know that. Like I said, at the time, I didn't know that. And that was in 1988. And as time continued to go on, being brokenhearted from that and just living a life that's in rebellion to God, I still sensed Him, pulling me closer to Him. But I didn't want to admit it. I didn't want to come to Him. I was scared because of the things I've done and we're continuing to do. But that drawing just kept continuing. He kept I could sense his pull. And as I look back now, there's a scripture, John 6:44. That says, let me read this to you. It says, "No one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I will raise him up in the last day. I didn't understand that at the time, that that's what the Lord was doing, but now I do. He was drawing me to himself. And of course, my sin separated me from him. But he continued to draw. And I looked at some studies on that verse and how that word draw is actually like a fish being in a net and being pulled the way the net goes. Whoever's pulling the net is pulling the fish that are in it. And that's the way I felt toward God's drawing, that he was pulling me, but even though I didn't want to face him, he continued to pull, and it was nothing I could do. And through that drawing, and the closer I got to him, the more my sin became a reality. And the more I realized that I needed him, that I faced hell in a real way without him. And the only way I knew that is that he revealed that to me, which he does all his children that are saved. And then in 1991, in June of 1991, he drew me to himself. And at that point, I confessed all my sins to him. I put all my trust into him. And it has never been the same since that day. I know I'm saved. I've had ups and downs since then, but I was changed in the twinkling of an eye at that moment. I know I was. And I pray my life has reflected that. And I hope it continues to do that. And that's my heart. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. And I'd ask if you would pray for me to continue to live a life that's worthy of him. And I'm going to do the same for you, that we'd bring him glory in everything that we do. And I so look forward to seeing you guys again at church. And I know we can still, we're saved, even not being at the church. But man, it's good to be around God's people that love him, and we're going to sing his praise and live for him. And I'm so excited about that. That's coming soon. Okay. Love you guys, and have a great day. Bye.